Well, hey y'all, happy Tuesday. I'm pleased to report that I am really in the 90% range of feeling better. I broke down and went and got an antibiotic, and so I'm just a couple of doses into that. But I am feeling better. So thank you, and thank you for everybody that reached out and with a comment, a kind word. And I had a lot of people that reached out to me that were going through the same things, and I'm really glad for that too, because my only reason for really wanting to be here ever is to be a source of encouragement. So even if you're still going through some stuff, please, reach out to me anytime through any of the social medias or my email, allpurposemom4, the number 4, at gmail.com. So, to get to today's video, it's February 1st, and I really wished I could have shared this with you last week. But the nuts and bolts of what we really need to know are going to be happening in the next couple weeks, because obviously what we can do at the first of the month is a big recycling of what we've kind of been doing up until now. So I don't feel too terribly bad that I'm getting with you today. So I'm going to chat with you in just a second about that. I also want to cue you in that I'm planning for our plant seed swap where we meet up at Summer Winds on Bell Road. Planning to do that on February 19th, and so I'll keep kind of chatting about that in my videos, and I'll also talk about it over on the Facebook page. So, and if you don't do any of those, then try to find a way to message me, and I'll try to keep in contact with you on the details, specifically like what time. The next thing I want to tell you before I get to what you can plant is be mindful of the forecast this week. When we wake up Thursday morning and Friday morning and Saturday morning, we're going to see some really chilly temps in my backyard. We're looking at like the forecasting for the high 30s. So for me, that usually means it can get a little bit lower. I've only got a few things right now that are frost sensitive, but I'm going to take it very seriously because there's so many things that just bounce back completely, like the nasturtiums. And those are the things that I care most about. So just be mindful of that. If you've jumped the gun on planting any of the spring summer stuff, get that covered up, and otherwise just watch your forecast this week. Okay, so for what you can plant this month in February, kind of your last chance, and some of these still roll into a little bit of March. We're looking at artichoke, both the globe and the Jerusalem artichoke, which is also kind of a sunchoke. You can do the sunchokes for a couple months. You've got a last chance of asparagus at the first of the month, and probably you'd want to do those from transplant, but if you've got seeds, give those a whirl too. And then there's beans, bok choy. You can do the broccoli rabe because it kind of doesn't focus on a crown as much as it does the side stems. With beans, you could do garbanzo and lentil. Carrots, you can still do carrots through March. Collard greens, last chance here at the first of the month. A last chance on dill, cilantro, most of all the herbs that we've been planting, parsley, oregano, thyme, all of those last chance with any transplants you can get a hold of. You can also still do lettuce leaf, mustard greens, green onions, along with multiplier onions. And then all the peas, you can get one more shot at that. And potatoes. I forgot to mention last month that you could get your seed potatoes going. Your regular potatoes, not your sweet potatoes. So you can do that from, if you can find seed potatoes, maybe at Summer Winds, or if you've got some potatoes, or you could go get some potatoes real quick and then put them like in a dark brown bag, put them in the pantry or something, and then in a week or so when they start to chit, then go throw them in some dirt. And then you can still do some radishes because they're fast from seed to stop, and turnip. I think in there I missed kale and leek. You can do a little bit more fennel, and of course cilantro with the herbs. Now we're ready to start our spring and summer gardens, friends. And it's funny because I've preached to you all throughout the month of December about planning. And you know what Jerry did? Jerry just kept putting places to put stuff instead of really coming up with a plan. So now I'm like, okay, I can start all these seeds, but where am I going to put all these things? And so I've kind of got a vision for over there, but like I need to get into the minutia of it. Like you're gonna see this new straw bale garden I've got going, and I need to find out like exactly what is going on that bale. But on to the list. So with the beans, and now, so some of these things you can start now on February 15th, being mindful of the temperatures, and given any kind of protection and support that you can. A lot of these are, and a lot of old timers in the valley are going to tell you March 1st, March 1st, March 1st. A lot of the things that I'm going to start are going to be in my greenhouse, or I might do like a kolache over them. But otherwise, you don't have to get started on the 15th. It just kind of gives you a jump start. And otherwise you'll get away with doing it at the 1st of March too. So in the bean category, we've got lima beans, pinto, and soy. Then you can get going with your basil, sweet corn, and all the corns, cucumber, standard, and Armenian. Your melons, it's time to, it's not time to everything, obviously. I'm saying it's time to. But melons, cantaloupe, all the melons. And then also watermelon. You can also get going on jicama if you're into that. Pepper, your summer squash, your winter squash. Sunflowers. Some people say you can plant sunflowers year-round in Arizona, but I'm going to start mine because I'm going to do a big sunflower patch up front. So I'm going to for sure do those here in the next week or so, because we got a birthday party coming, and then after that I'm gonna drop all those seeds. So sunflowers, tomatoes, pumpkins, and tomatillas. So again, if you're too busy to get those going on the 15th, you've definitely got a nice window between February 15th and March 15th to get those plants going in the ground. And a couple of you have asked me to kind of cue you in on when you will be able to buy things like that at Summer Winds. First of all, always know that you can call Summer Winds and find out if they've got whatever you're looking for in stock. But I did happen to talk to Tyler a couple weeks ago when I was at Summer Winds, and he said that the end of February is when we're going to see a lot of those spring starts come out. So if you're not planning on doing from seed, then you might start scoping out towards the end of the February, definitely at the 1st of March, for those spring and summer plants that we're so pumped to get going in our garden. So let's go check out what's going on in my garden and all the expansions. I didn't even mention this expansion that I created right here behind the greenhouse. I just glazed over that in the tour. But I hope you enjoy my tour, and ultimately I hope you have the best day ever. So I figured we would start this over here and work our way around. So my winter garden is kind of winding down. This yod fall is going crazy because the bees love it. I've picked from all of these broccolis that were from Summer Winds, and they're about to make side shoots, but some of the ones that I grew from seed are already making side shoots, and I'll show you that in a minute. I'm about to cut back my asparagus, and it's not easy to see right now, but there's dill concentrated in the middle, and then there's lettuces planted along the outside edges there. And then the little trash cans are keeping the birds out of there until it can get grown up. And this is my pride and joy. If you look at some of these onions, they are really getting fat. I love this bed. I'm so happy with what seems to be over planting, but it was really planned this way. This is cumin, and I probably, according to all the research I did, this is really something you'd probably plant in the summer or in the spring. But it made it through the winter with me, and you can see that it's just starting to form its little itty bitty flower heads. And so the flower heads obviously will make seed, and then you roast the seed, and that's your cumin. So obviously I'm going to need a whole lot more of it to supply my cumin needs, but it's a good start. I've harvested once from the cilantro, and it could really use another cut. And I've harvested once from the parsley, and it's definitely ready for another cut. And I keep trimming back my onions to keep them from falling over and to kind of encourage them to keep growing. Now I'm ready to make my third cut on all of this fabulous dill that I've got here. So this is the time that I really proved myself that thinning out in the beginning is the key to having everything that I want, because I really, if you look down in here, I did a pretty good job of getting my spacing in here, and it's because I came back and thinned out. So like I said, third time I'm gonna be making a cut from the dill, and I've been dehydrating that all as we go along. So most of the bags up here are either retired tomato plants that had a hard time in the frost, but they've still got like garlic in it, and soon they'll have the seeds of another plant in it. That's a tomato that made it after the frost. Here's another yod fall for the bees. Now, like I said, this is a broccoli that I've grown from seed, and we've already cut its main head, and now we can come in and harvest these side shoots. I harvested some mustard and shared it with a neighbor. This is something that I didn't thin, that I should have. This was a red celery plant, and I just let all the little seeds grow in the middle. And so it went a little crazy, but you can see now it's getting to where you could snap off some good stalks. And I've thinned it a little bit as it gotten older recently and used it to make stock. This is one that if I don't get it tomorrow, it's going to start to flower. But it doesn't taste any different even if it gets a couple of flowers. We've been eating off of this green romaine, and I need to get some of this salad bowl. It just looks so beautiful. And we've been eating peas like crazy. They finally took off, and they're covered in flowers. And this sweet little bed down here, I need to start picking more lichinto. This is some dwarf blue kale, and I'm trying a new kind of spinach over there in the asparagus bed, because this Bloomsdale never does that great for me. And all my lavender, and I've got a video coming up about that, but my lavender babies look pretty sweet. The greenhouse is nearly full with tomato, and these are mostly flowers. These are peppers. These are some more to-be tomatoes, and those are some that I upplanted this weekend. Super excited about the future ranunculus that are in here that I planted from corms. And then obviously this garlic looks awesome. Now coming this way, loving how my nasturtia came back after the frost. It's supposed to get cold this week, so might lose it one more time. Then over here is mostly tomatoes, strawberries, and those are some tomatillas that made it through that last frost. I got this one beautiful red pepper, and I know when this comes off, I'm just letting it turn red, that this will just blow right back up, so that's good. Now my garden has expanded over here. I think you remember we talked about this is one of my magic zones right here in front of the house, kind of getting just past the magic zone a little bit here, but I know that this is all shade in the afternoon, so it'll still work out okay. It looks a little bit different because I got these 2 bells first for free. So I went ahead and started conditioning them, and then I got these remaining bells last weekend. So I'm doing some new things with how I condition these bales as a result of how I conditioned that one. So you'll be able to catch up on that in my straw bale journal. This is artichoke, and right now I know they're just really slow growing, but once the sun shifts a little bit more, I know that they're gonna pick up, and I really truly believe that this shady spot over here is gonna be a good spot for them. I had my first, that was number 1. This is number 2 of my first calendulas to come up here that we planted in Flip-Flop's grave area, and this is overplanted edible flower, so I'm not sure what that's going to be yet because it was just a mixed bag of seeds. And then I've got, so the yard looks a little crazy because I'm just constantly doing stuff right now. And then we also filled in this bed right here, and this is gonna be like my summer lettuce bed because it gets a lot of shade, it gets a little bit of sun, so that's what is gonna be here, is things that like that. So right now it's just kind of setting up seasoning for the coming planting. Now the front bale is, I want to say that everything is moderately stunted. I think that's again because of my not so great experience with those little plugs. I still need to do an update video on that. So I harvested miniature broccoli off of that. Miniature mustard green. Lots of miniature kohlrabis out here. There's a little bit of broccoli, another miniature mustard, and a miniature cabbage. So I'm about to start, even if I just harvest this all at once, and throw it in like, you know, a big pot of mustard greens, so I can start planting real stuff out here that's not going to be dwarf versions of itself. And the last thing I want to share is I got some mums in October, and I kind of let it sit here too long in its original container, but then after it frosted, it started making blooms. So I planted it in here, and I cut back most of the bad stuff, and now it's just going crazy. So I waited too long because I couldn't decide where to plant it in the yard, and then I was like, just put it in a bag. So this one hasn't started blooming yet, but it's got a lot of new growth on it, and this bag used to have basil in it. So here in the next week I'm gonna come get these basil babies. I know I already told you I have the best day ever, but I really do hope that all of you that were not feeling well are on the mend, and any of you that fall ill, come quickly up onto the mend. And as a reminder, if there's any way that I can encourage you, you can say so in the comments. You can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram, and you can always email me. So let me encourage you and support you, friends.